And we've got Matthew in Ireland.
Hi.
Hi, Matthew.
How are things? I would just like to a point on the absolute fallacy of the argument that atheist was making. And it's always the same rhetoric over and over that, religious morals are better, and how can an atheist, live without having these kind of morals? And I know this, and this is from debates and even from their political propaganda, because there's always ultranationalist trait when they advocate religious moral, as if, hey, listen, if you're religious, you're being a noble citizen, and if you're not, and if you don't adhere to religious morals, then you're not, a normal, ideal citizen. And it just, and their morals, religious morals, are always fundamentalists.
Yes, you're right.
They're always onto the extreme. And one of the absolute flaws, and I think it's very misleading, that they do is when they indoctrinate children, which is a very sophisticated form of abuse, is that they tell them that they're not allowed to question their morals, and that if they so much as if step outside those parameters of these so-called, holy morals, that immediately, that's it, that they're lost. And also,
hey, Matthew, can I interrupt you? Matthew, you're from Ireland. You're from Ireland, right?
Originally I'm from Malta, but I'm in Ireland at the moment.
Excellent. Well, I just got back from Ireland. I was just there in July. Are you a member of Atheist Ireland there?
Yes. I'm actually a member.
Awesome. Great. Well, you've had some pretty bad issues going on with the priests there in Ireland. I'm sure you're familiar with some of that.
Oh, yes.
And the indoctrination of children that allowed priests to get away with some pretty heinous crimes.
Yes.
What I find interesting, and I just wanted to use as a jumping off point for part of what you were saying there, is I find it interesting that almost no priests have been convicted of any of these crimes, and that the Catholic Church would only allow the reports to come out as long as no one was convicted. You're familiar with that, I'm sure, right?
Oh yes, and actually, picking up on that, the most horrific thing is that until 40 years ago, the Catholic Church could literally had control over the authorities here, over the Gardaí. Like no one, not even the police officer would dare question what a priest would say.
Right.
For example, a local parish priest, if a woman wanted to purchase contraceptions over the counter, they had to get subscription from the parish priest. The word of a clergyman was higher than that of a civil servant or whatnot. And also, there was the issue of the Magdalene covenants, where these so-called, sinners, women were just thrown in there, and it was just horrific. And yes, it's until this very day, there is hardly any political party, any figure whatsoever who says, look, we this has to be dealt with. Through the system. The Catholic Church in most parts of Europe, especially the parts which are more, where the church and state separation is very where the church is literally allowed to police itself.
The thing that I was most concerned about when I was in Ireland, and I spoke there. Evidently, you weren't in this group when I was speaking at Atheist Ireland. But what I was most concerned about is the amount of imposition the Catholic Church still has over the state in Ireland. I think you're describing it very well. It's interesting, though, in the United States, we have the opposite problem. We're trying to keep the church out of politics. In Ireland, you're trying to get the church out of politics. It's like the opposite problem. It's got the same result, unfortunately. But you guys are doing some great stuff, and I noticed that the Irish Parliament, the Dáil, I guess you call it, passed a civil marriage law in January, and that was, or July, I guess. That's pretty amazing for a dominantly Catholic culture, for sure.
It's also ironic that they recently passed this ridiculous blasphemy legislation, where people can be fined this, a ridiculous fine for apparently speaking out against the morals of society, so on and so forth.
25,000 euros and 6 months in prison for blasphemy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And on that note, Matthew, I'm sorry, but I got to let you go because we are just almost completely out of time. But we appreciate the call.